Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another retro review from past seasons of The Loud House. In today's video, we take a look at what is technically a Valentine's Day special from Season 4, but it seems Lynn is looking for anything but love. Today's episode is titled, Singled Out. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. In this episode, Lynn is feeling annoyed and left out when her roller derby team start bringing their significant others to all their activities, prompting Lynn to find a boyfriend of her own. However, her relationship with some kid named Dexter is not as romantically compatible as everyone else's, and eventually the two of them mutually decide to break it off. The episode ends with Lynn eating alone at the Burpin' Burger with some little kid, and her friends join in on a food fight after seeing how much fun she's having. Kind of strange and rude of them to just leave their dates hanging, but hey, whatever makes you happy. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. Like I mentioned in my review of Brave the Last Dance, everyone deals with a crazy little thing called love, and sometimes you just can't handle it the same as everyone else. That's what Lynn found out in this episode, and I kind of felt bad for her here. She's not interested in romance for whatever reason, although I'll get to a theory on why that might be, and she also hated feeling like the loner in her friends group. I know she could have talked to them about how she was feeling left out, but I don't think that would have been fair to her friends. She probably didn't want to ruin their good time, and I completely understand. Granted, her friends did come off as the kind of people who think being in a relationship is the greatest thing in the world, which can be depending on who you are, but I can't be mad at them for putting a lot of their time and attention towards their love interests. They were caught up in the passion, it was probably their first ever relationships, and it's not like they were ignoring Lynn on purpose. Some people like to see the roller derby team as negatives, but I, in good faith, cannot. They also had their cute little couple moments, so that's something that can get you to say, aww. Anyway, getting back to Lynn, I guess you could say she was looking for a boyfriend in name only and didn't really want to be called an official couple by Dexter, and he's sort of a minor positive. He's just some weird kid, and much like Lynn, he only agreed to go out with her since his friends were ragging on him for not having a girlfriend. He was upfront about why he joined Lynn at every activity she was doing, and I can respect the honesty there. That's why I really appreciated the ending to the story. He and Lynn knew they weren't in love with each other, they only agreed to start dating just to make themselves look good in front of their friends, and they were mature enough about their breakup. Wow, I'm using a lot of quotation marks here, aren't I? But seriously, I liked the lesson they learned, which would be you don't have to be in a relationship to have a good time. If it's not your thing or you're not ready to date, that's fine, and you shouldn't be pressured into it. If you want to find someone, go for it, but don't start making wedding plans with the very first person you see just because you don't want your friends to think differently of you. The only other thing I can say about Lynn and the idea of relationships ruining her life, so to speak, is I like how she handled herself in this episode compared to how she acted in the episode Instagram. Rather than trying to break up her friends' relationships like she tried to do with Albert and Myrtle, she at least tried to find someone so she wouldn't feel like a third wheel. I'll give her some credit for being a little bit more mature here than how she acted in the past. However, I have to say that's not enough to make the episode very good in my book, and it's very early in the plot that we learn something that, at least in my opinion, doesn't jive too well. I'm of course referring to Lynn's explanation on why she's not into romantic relationships or actively looking to start one. This episode suggests Lynn is aromantic, meaning she doesn't feel romantically attracted to anyone and has no desire to be in a relationship. She outright says she's not into romance and recalls a time where she thought she was in love, but it turned out she was actually dehydrated. By this point in the series, I honestly cannot believe that for a second. If that were the case, then how do we explain her little crush on that Hugh guy from the episode Study Muffin? Then there's that Francisco kid from L is for Love. Are we really supposed to believe her feelings for those two guys were only brought on because the water levels in her body started dropping? Her explanation just sounds too conveniently contrived, and it greatly conflicts with those two previous love encounters she had. I guess her short-term feelings for Hugh were just a matter of puppy love, and nothing was going to come of it given the age differences. But regarding her initial attraction to Francisco, I have a fan theory I'd like to offer. I like to think she gave him that love letter back in season 2, and he broke her heart by turning her down, and now she uses her dehydration excuse as a cover so as to hide what really happened, or not, between them. That could easily explain why she wasn't looking for a boyfriend, because she was afraid of getting rejected again. If that was revealed to be the truth, I would have been more sympathetic to Lynn, and that revelation would have been good for developing her character on an intimate level. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and it raises questions about episode timeline placement. I mean, you could say this episode might take place after Study Muffin and before L is for Love, or vice versa. However, Lynn talks about breaking her puke record in this episode, and knowing she got over her fear of vomiting vomiting in the future episode Hurl Interrupted, I have more reason to believe Singled Out takes place after the Hurl episode, and yeah, you see how confusing this is getting? It's that stupid love explanation she gives that unnecessarily complicates previously established character moments, and I know I might be overthinking all of this, and maybe I am, but compared to what we're given in the actual episode versus the fan theory I have about her and Francisco, I think you can tell which explanation makes more sense. Also, I didn't like the part at the end where Lynn's friends practically abandoned their dates in favor of a food fight. That just seemed like a disrespectful thing to do, and whether that played a role in each of those significant others no longer being associated with the roller derby team is not exactly clear. Perhaps I'm reading too much into that, but hopefully you understand my dislike for that specific moment. Overall, this episode is just alright. It's not something I can definitively hate, nor would I say it's Lynn's worst episode, but I just can't get over her very contrived explanation on how she thought she was in love at one time when it turned out she wasn't in love at all. When you have at least 2 previous instances where she had romantic feelings for someone, regardless of whether you want to float the idea of certain episodes taking place before or after this one, her explanation just comes off as lazy on behalf of the writers, and it seems like a complete disregard to continuity in a fairly consistent timeline, no matter how scattered it can be. Other than that, she had some decent character development like Dexter, and her friends in their relationships had their cute little moments despite the roller derby team low-key dumping their dates in favor of a food fight. In short, this episode is still passable and enjoyable if you're willing to look past the continuity errors, so just take it for what it is and have fun. With that said, I give Singled Out a 7 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Singled Out. Always remember that love is never supposed to be a decision, it's a feeling. And if you feel you're not in love with someone, at least not yet, never try to rush into it, and that's the kind of lesson Lynn will remember for quite some time. Hopefully. So what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.